children snuck from their parents and chores to play beside the water. The thrill of disobeying their parents intoxicated them as they played in the snow and slid on the ice. Knocking beneath their feet rippled through their bodies. The knocking stopped. The stunned children waited. The knocking returned further from them and stopped. This repeated and led the children to the water. They waited at the water's edge, wondering what would happen to the knocking. A blue-green claw with webbed fingers rose from the water. Then a figure crawled onto shore. The figure was humanoid, with long strands of seaweed for hair. It wore an outfit the children recognized as a parka their ancestors wore. The parka's large hood doubled as a pouch to carry children. The figure's noseless face and black eyes made it look more fish than person. Its scaly green-blue skin glistened in the sun. The creature's foul, dead fish stench wrinkled the children's noses. The fear-stricken children stared as the figure beckoned them and approached. The children huddled in the figure's shadow. The creature's webbed claw reached for the children's arms. One of the children grabbed the hand of the other and ran. The figure lunged for the children. It screamed, but they were too fast, and the figure returned to the water. The figure was the Inuit's water-dwelling boogeyman, Qalupalik. And this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, episode 40, the Inuit's water-dwelling boogeyman, Qalupalik. I am Kamuela Kaneshiro, a professional writer, speaker, and Comic-Con panelist with extensive film and television experience. I study mythology, I've encountered unusual things, and I'm a geek. You'd like longer episodes, and I'd like to make longer episodes, but it takes about 20 hours to make one episode. While this is the same amount of time larger shows take to create one episode, they have a crew and I'm a one-person operation. So consider becoming a Patreon supporter of our show, so we may hire production and research assistants to make longer episodes. You can also support us by joining our email list and getting 2 or 3 of your friends to listen to our show. Later in this episode, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but first, the Qalupalik. The Qalupalik is a creature who tries to kidnap misbehaving children and children who play near the water's edge. It's unknown what happens to the children. Some people believe Qalupalik eat them. Others say the children's energy keep the Qalupalik young, or the Qalupalik could raise the children to become a member of their group. If you smell dead or rotting fish, that could mean a Qalupalik is near. Other telltale signs include hearing humming and steam rising from the water indicates a hiding Qalupalik. But a common sign is knocking from the ice. Inuits believe the knocking is a Qalupalik beneath the ice, trying to get a child's attention. Still to come, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but now, a story. The following is a Legends from the Pacific original story, and is based on cultural records. A grandmother was tasked with looking after her grandson. The grandmother was poor and even though villagers offered them food, the grandmother knew they were facing starvation. She considered her options and remembered the Qalupalik. She encouraged her grandson to spend his days playing beside the water, and the grandson obeyed. Each night, the grandmother prepared dinner and was disappointed her grandson returned. Until one night, he didn't. The grandmother hoped her ancestors would forgive her grim decision of survival. There was a knock on her door. It was members of her village. They said her grandson was their children's best friend, and they saw a Qalupalik take him. But a rescue party was formed to retrieve her child. At the edge of the village, the rescue party encountered two figures, a renowned hunter and his assistant. They were seeking shelter from a coming storm. The villagers offered them shelter, but were disheartened. The storm canceled their rescue. The hunter was concerned about the missing child and vowed to find him. The next day, the hunter set out with his assistant. They hunted Qalupalik and had an idea where it might be. At the location, the low tide revealed the child sitting on a shallow part of the water. Something about the child didn't look right, but they ran to him. The child yelled. 2 men were approaching. A rope of seaweed around the child's waist tightened, and the child was pulled into the water. The hunter understood what needed to be done. He created a plan with his assistant. They made camp and waited for tomorrow. Early the next day, they hid near where the child was seen and waited for low tide. When low tide revealed the sitting boy, the duo ran for the child. The boy yelled. 2 men were approaching. As the seaweed rope tightened, the hunter lunged and cut the rope before the child was pulled into the water. The group headed back to the village. The child regained his appearance as they approached his home. When asked why he was playing beside the water, they learned of the grandmother's mistreatment, but understood the family was starving. The hunter pitied the family. He joined the village, provided for the family, and trained the child as his own. The boy grew and became one of the greatest hunters of his time. Coming up, your featured song and Hawaiian word. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter of our show. With your help, we'll be able to create longer episodes. Also, join our email list and get 2 or 3 of your friends to listen to our show. Today, the Qalupalik is considered one of the Inuits' most popular creatures. The Qalupalik has appeared in video games, books, television shows, and movies. But it's unclear if the Qalupalik is a cautionary tale made up to scare children, or if the Qalupalik is real, since people claimed to have seen it. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. As stated previously, our new episodes are released every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Hawaii time, GMT minus 10 hours. I'd also like to clarify that I mispronounced Greenwich. As you can imagine, it can be tricky switching between our show's various languages, and mispronounced words, including Hawaiian ones, can slip by. A big mahalo nui loa to our listeners who brought this to my attention. I do miss living in London, Hertfordshire, and Europe. I'll make it back there one of these days. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ TripleBypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is 1 Foot on Sand by Justin Young, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuala Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is kehapa'a. Kehapa'a means ice. An example of kehapa'a is the Star Wars planet Hoth is a kehapa'a planet. Once again, kehapa'a means ice. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and ahui ho.
Over the sea, but I watch my home get further from me. Sometimes I